welcome to the Passenger Seat Podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. I'm Becca, and today we're going to be talking about everything that I did to get her ready for some winter driving this year. So if you're not fully familiar with me and Peggy's story, I've had Peggy for 5 years now, and in 2024 she underwent a really big bodywork restoration that involved lots of welding, lots of rust removal, lots of new parts, and then obviously her lovely new paint job. And a lot of people, when they do that level of restoration work, might be a little bit more nervous about using their classic car during winter. The winters here in the UK are pretty rough for our classic cars because the salt on the roads for kind of trying to treat the ice and stuff like that is not the best for them. It gets into lots of nasty places and it causes rust. It doesn't just do it to our classics, it does it to a lot of the modern cars as well. That's why we see a lot of them rotting out in places much sooner than they probably ought to, and why cars that get imported from other countries are often in much better condition when they come over here than their UK counterparts, because they've just not had such rough winters. And so it's totally understandable when you've spent as much money as a big restoration like that does, that you might want to try and protect your kind of investment. And I guess in some ways I could have gone that way, and a lot of people do, and I totally understand why they do. But for me, the money that we spent is kind of the same as a lot of people would spend on a brand new car, and they never think about going out and driving their car out in whatever weather it is. And Peggy, for me, has always been a daily driver. I enjoy driving her. And also, in case you can't tell, I'm a big Christmas person, and the idea that I wouldn't have my favourite car around during the festive period to go and enjoy Christmas lights and all of that sort of stuff would be absolutely devastating to me. So all we can do is do our best to keep on top of any rust that would ever crop up, but also do as much as we can to try and prevent that. So today I'm going to talk you through what I've done this year to try and protect her. She is pretty well protected, given that when she was in a kind of reassembly phase of her restoration, my restorer Ian at Minor Services did kind of wax cavity fill as much of her as he could, got into all of those places. It's the great part of a car being fully taken apart, that you can get as many places that you can with that wax and do your best to keep it as safe as possible. He also knew a couple of tips and tricks about some of the problem areas, which were the areas that Peggy had gone in, because he's been working on Morris Minors for so long. He's did a couple of like totally invisible modifications to the car when you look at it from the outside, that stops water getting trapped in places that it shouldn't, stops dirt getting trapped in places that it just causes problems, and so hopefully all of that will work together to from the inside do as much as it can to prevent problems in the winter weather. But obviously we've got lots of the rest of the car to protect as well. So the first thing I did was give her a big clean. Got the snow foamer out, snow foamed, well, firstly jet wash with water the whole car, and particularly paying attention in the wheel arches and the underside of the car. That's because later on I'm going to lana shield the car, and last year I had kind of dry brushed off any dirt in the wheel arches and underside of the car, and it had taken me forever. It does work. It is a good option in terms of if you want to clean and apply the lana shield on the same day, because the car is still dry for you to then apply the lana shield. But I was fortunate that I knew that there were several days that I wasn't going to need to take Peggy out and drive her, so I could kind of jet wash the underside. Jet washing the underside is something I'm careful about doing in terms of the strength of it when the lana shield is applied, but when I know that I'm about to reapply and freshen up the underside, I use a bit harsher of a setting on the lance to try and get as much off on the underside as possible. So I jet wash the whole car with my jet washer, and then I put the snow foam attachment on, snow foam the whole car, and I also snow foam the wheel arches and the underside as well, just to kind of help get to any more stubborn bits of muck and stuff like that. But overall they were pretty clean, and not much had got kind of stuck in there. Then obviously 2-bucket approach to washing the car, one for rinsing out the dirty sponge, then wetting it up again with the soap and cleaning and giving it a really good clean all over, making sure to get into all of the little places, nooks and crannies, and then obviously leaving the wheels till last, so that those as the dirtiest things don't mess up your water too much. And then I rinsed off the car with the jet wash, rinsed off the wheel arches and the underside, and then whilst it was still wet, I'd got a ceramic coating snow foam thing and used that over the entire car. It's good stuff. I've had other people use the same stuff and they've had decent results, and I am pretty impressed with how overall shiny it's made the car, and it's another kind of layer of protection against muck. I did do it twice because it said on the packet that kind of 2 applications and removals and then apply it again and rinse it off again would last for 12 months. I'm not needing it to last for 12 months necessarily. I just want it to do its best to last through winter. I then wanted to turtle wax the car. Probably overkill, some people might say. Might not be the exact right way to do these things, but it seemed like another layer of protection for the car, which the more the merrier as far as I was concerned. I'd used the kind of pot of turtle wax before. I couldn't find any of that when I popped along to Halfords to get some supplies for some of this, so I ended up getting their spray-on wax, which was actually so much easier to use, and I was able to be quite liberal with it in a way that feels a bit hard work with the pots of turtle wax. I don't know if it's going to be as strong. It said something about it still being the hard shell stuff, which is what I usually use, but obviously we've got the ceramic coating on underneath, and then we've got the wax on, and then we have got a bit of detailer over the top as well. I used that to just kind of help buff out some of the wax in places where it had set a little bit more, and the hope is that I can use kind of a wash and wax whenever a little bit of dirt gets on the car, and trying to spot treat it, because it's not fun to fully get the jet wash and everything else out during the winter months. It's just cold and it's horrible. So I did this kind of towards the end of November. I mean, it was still pretty cold, but hopefully the worst will be kept off of the car and I shouldn't have to do too many big washes over the winter months, and then can top up any waxing and detailer as we go as well. And I have to say, she's looking really good. It had been a little while since I'd properly washed her and given her a big kind of proper like tidy up because it's been such a busy summer, and so she does look really lovely. And obviously I tidied up the inside a few weeks before when I'd had to clean it out from the brownies coming in. That was kind of day one of Peggy's get ready for winter stage. It was dealing with the outside, jet washing off the underside, making sure that was all nice and clean, and then I put her back in the garage for because obviously she was all lovely and dry and everything. Put her back in the garage, and I didn't have to use her until kind of the Monday. So I'd done all of this on the, I want to say the Wednesday or Thursday, and I didn't need to use her until the Monday. One of the bonuses of where we live now is a lot of the stuff that I need to go to is walking distance, and what we had on the weekend we were using Jaffa for anyway. But I took advantage of having a pretty free Saturday and set about lana shielding. Now, I would probably have preferred to do it outside, but we were having kind of horrible drizzly rain, and that meant that I absolutely did not prefer to do it outside. And I am really fortunate that where we live now, I've got quite a spacious garage to be able to do this sort of stuff in the garage. It does mean that a lot of the garage is now beautifully rust proofed, and there is still a little smell as you open the garage doors, but well worth it for what it is. So what is lana shielding, if you don't know, and how did I do it? So lana shield is a lanolin based product. It's kind of like a goopy non-setting underside cover for your cars. There is Lana Shield, there's Lana Guard, there's Alpha Lan. Lots of these products have come up in more recent years, and they're kind of the alternative to wax oiling, I guess. Wax oiling, I think a lot of us have come to realise, is all well and good if you know that the car is super solid underneath and hasn't got a way of any moisture getting trapped. But if a crack gets in the hard setting wax oil, then moisture can get in, it can cause rust, and you can't necessarily see it. So a lot of people have started using these lanolin based products. Lanolin is an oil that comes from the wool of sheep. It's what makes certain jumpers that fishermen are famous for kind of wearing waterproof. It's naturally water repellent, and so this oil based stuff that goes on the underside of your car obviously naturally repels any water that gets on the underside of your car, and within that water might well be dirt, salt, whatever it is on the roads that you don't want getting in to your car. And it also forms kind of a self-healing cover on the bottom of your car. So again, with the wax oil, if you chipped a bit off or whatever, then that's then a weakness within the wax oil. Whereas with Lana Shield, it kind of refills itself in if you remove a small amount, kind of thing, to the best of its abilities. I've had a lot of friends who have used it for several years now, had much better results with it than they had with other products, and so I knew that when I got Peggy back, that's what I'd be kind of coating the underside with. We used Lana Guard last year, we used Lana Shield this year, based on the fact that there's less petrol, I believe, in the Lana Shield, which means that firstly it smells less, because the petrol is what causes it to kind of evaporate and make a pretty interesting smell from the inside of your car for the first kind of week or so, and also whilst you're applying it, but also means that it's supposedly a little bit stronger concentration of the lanolin based products. That's what I can understand from my research and my conversations with people who understand it a little bit better than me, from the people who have been using it for a while, and from what I've kind of read in my own research. So that's what I have been using and why I've been using it. And it can be faffy, it can be annoying to apply, and it is something that you have to reapply. It's not like a leave it and forget it kind of situation. You kind of reapply it every year to 2 years, depending. I'm going for every year at the moment, just to do my best to protect Peggy, particularly in these early stages after the restoration. But I don't really mind that, because it means that I'm getting up in my wheel arches, having a good look at my underside, and checking all of that out and seeing if I can spot any differences. And that's been quite nice and reassuring. I mean, it was incredible to look at the underside last year for the first time properly after the restoration. Obviously, I'd seen it in progress, I'd seen it afterwards, but it was my first time properly on my own, spending a good couple of hours basically looking at the underside of my car since the restoration. And it was really reassuring and lovely to see just how nice and neat and tidy the whole of the underside looked. And yeah, it was really reassuring, because obviously the car itself looks very beautiful, but it's that underside that's actually really important, and making sure that that is as good as possible. So I was really pleased with that. And again, this year when I've been applying and exploring the underside, I'm pretty happy that there's been kind of no progress and issues with dirt getting into places it shouldn't, and rust and things like that developing. So that's been pretty good. So within the confines of my little workshop here, I jacked the front end of the car up first, because that's where I was going to start. You don't need to, but it is easier if you've got that bit more space. And also, obviously, with the car jacked up, the wheels drop down, so you don't have to take the wheels off. Again, you could do if you wanted a bit more space and a bit more access, but I jacked the car up, was able to see enough of what I needed to see, and get into places a little bit easier. I also set up a few more lights in here. Lighting isn't great in this garage. It will be something that we probably look into in the near future, because it's great having this indoor space to be able to work on the cars during winter, but we do need a bit more lighting to actually see. I'm really fortunate that at the moment we're housing some of my parents' stuff, because they've moved house as well, and we'd got the space, and within our selection of things that we're looking after is a lot of my dad's workshop stuff. And so I actually managed to find some workshop lamps in there, inspection lamps, the kind of things that you see clamped onto cars and stuff like that in old garages. They're actually what I've got going around in the garage at the moment for a bit of extra lighting in here. So they added a bit of extra light, and then I've also got a really good kind of foldable back rechargeable lamp that I use actually when I'm actually under the car. So that gave me a bit more lighting in the garage, and then was actually able to see properly under the sides as well. The really important thing about Lana Shield is that when it's cold, it kind of goes a bit solid, which is kind of what you want on the bottom of your car. You want it to kind of solidify and stick to where it is, but obviously that means when applying it, you need to try and keep it warm. So a key thing is to warm up the bucket of Lana Shield, Lana Guard, whatever it is you're using, and also the pipe. Now I battled through using the big unit of Lana Shield and the big pipe. I've since been advised that what is actually more useful is if you clean out one of your kind of home cleaning product bottles that has got a spray function, and put what you need in there, and then just keep that amount warm in that bottle. It's a lot easier that way, doesn't get as clogged so often, because for the first kind of front of the car, most of this side and a little bit of towards the back, it was going okay with me kind of gradually every so often just re-warming up the lana shield, re-warming up the pipe by dunking it in the bottom, but by this side it was just infuriating, and because it was just starting to get really clogged and just annoying. So that's something that I've learned for next year, and hopefully it will make it less stressful. But we jacked up the front of the car, applied it all along the front, all along the underside of the front, down the chassis legs and stuff there. We got up in the wheel arches of this side, along here, up in the wheel arch of there, across the cross member. It's got quite a good throw on the spray, so you don't have to get too far underneath to be able to get the large majority of the underside done, so that's pretty good. And then yeah, worked along the other side. Within here I managed to get most of it done with the car kind of pushed to one side, and then I did kind of drive it out a little bit and move it across just to give myself a little bit more extra space on the other side. But overall pretty good. It did take me, I would say, 3 hours, three and a half hours, what with like the jacking up, the setting up, maybe closer to 4, but I was filming little clips of it as well, so that does obviously take a bit more time. So it is kind of, especially if you're planning on dry brushing off any dirt, it's going to be a whole day job. If you are jet washing the underside, coming back to it, you're gonna spend at least half a day on it, and afterwards you are gonna smell funny and you're gonna want a really big bath, because it does get everywhere. It gets all over your hands. It's not, the lana shield is not as smelly as the lana guard, but you do still get a bit of a farmyard smell. The lana guard last year really specifically reminded me of the elephant enclosure at Chester Zoo. This does not have that exact smell, which is kind of disappointing, because I really like the elephant enclosure at Chester Zoo. But it is a little bit less offensively smelling, and seems to be dying down a lot quicker. I think it took maybe a month for the smell to go away. We're about a week later now, and Peggy's starting to smell normal. The other thing to be aware of is that the first time that you start the car up and you start driving, there will be a weird burning smell, because you will have probably got some on some parts that get hot. And so, for example, if you've got some on the exhaust and things like that, and that will start to, in places, evaporate off. Not a lot you can do about it. Exhausts are going to rot out anyway, but you will have this burning smell, and you probably will panic and think, oh my gosh, my car's on fire, especially if you're me and that's actually happened. But you realize very quickly that that is what that smell is, and it goes away pretty rapidly. I think within 5 minutes of me driving, the smell had gone away, in that regard of burning. And when you're driving the car, you can't smell it. You really only smell the smell when the car's been in a garage and you open the garage and you go, oh, okay, that's the smell. But that might well be that there's a lot of it on the floor in here as well, because it did get messy and annoying towards the end for sure. But with it all applied, I know that she is good to go to the best of my ability for the winter season. And I've done what I can to look after her so that I can still enjoy her, because I think it's important to carry on enjoying the things that you enjoy, particularly during these cold, dark months where things can feel a little bit awful. And so really looking forward to it. And as you can see, we've started to get a little bit Christmassy. So before I took her out for our first little Christmassy trip to one of the Age UK Christmas parties, we decorated her up. So she's got a bit of tinsel over the badge bar. I didn't do tinsel last year because I was very aware that in the past my tinsel had kind of bled onto the paintwork, and I paid a lot of money for the paintwork on it. So this year I have done tinsel, but I've done it in a lighter colour, and I've only put it around the badge bar at the front. I've got some tinsel in the boot for just laying across the back when I park up to take a photo by a Christmas tree or something like that, if it's the back of the car that's visible. So I've got that as an option. We've got the little Christmas tree in the back that you can hopefully just see. It does have a little light up function on it, but I haven't got those on at the moment. I've got my little Peggy Christmas tree decoration that says Peggy on the front. This is like a little gingerbread house. I've got some fairy lights across the front. They're in the shape of little snowflakes. They're fun because even when they're off, because I only really turn them on if I've parked up at night, or if I'm taking Christmas tree photos and stuff like that. But they're also good if you park up and you want a bit of extra light in here, other than the interior light. They were an absolute godsend before I had a working interior light, and I always miss them in January when we take them down and it's not as bright in here. I've also got some little window clings on the windows. They don't take very much to stick to the windows, but also don't take very much to come off. Don't leave any residue, and they just add a little bit of fun to the windows. And people seem to love it. They love seeing a slightly decorated classic car out in winter, and I love a little bit of festive cheer, so lots of fun there. So that's how I got Peggy ready for the winter season. She's all set and ready. We've started taking a couple of Christmassy Christmas tree photos in the area. It's quite interesting because last year I didn't have a lot of reason to be up near Peterborough, where there was a lot of my favourite Christmas trees, but obviously we've now moved more this way, and so a lot of the Christmas trees that I really loved from when I worked in Peterborough are back as options for me to go and take photos nearby, and hopefully going to find some more. I've really loved the fact that there is a page called We Love Peterborough that is advertising houses and Christmas trees and things like that people can go and see, that have got fantastic Christmas lights. So going to hopefully hit a few more of those over the coming few days. And yeah, all set and ready. I'd love to hear what sort of things you do to prep. Obviously she's recently had a service, so I'm hoping that that will see us through the winter mileage, so that I can not have to worry about that until it's a little bit warmer. I probably will invest in a couple of new window wipers because I've noticed that they've started to be a bit naff, so get some more of those. But other than that, I think we're all set. And maybe a little Santa Claus or something for the back seat. I'll have to see what I can find. But yes, I hope you're all ready for winters in your classics if you're doing that, or you've done the preparations to tuck your classic away for winter if you're doing that. And in the meantime, thank you ever so much for listening. Drive safely and happy motoring.